Well, I'm going to use a comment here to parlay into this next question because it does seem like you guys might be having a little bit of a garage sale over there, and the 49ers might come calling. He says a third and a fifth for Danielle Hunter. Now, I did have Hunter as a topic, and this was the exact question. Not necessarily the 49ers, but there's been a lot of issues with Hunter and the Vikings. Like, I don't know how this thing is still going. It seemed like he wanted out 2 years ago. He then talked about it again, and then he wasn't playing and he was hurt. And there was so much drama, it seemed like, with the Danielle Hunter situation. Yet he's still a Viking. The trade deadline is coming up. I feel like he's the perfect candidate to be traded to get something in return. Do you agree with that? Do you think Hunter is on the table for, not necessarily the 49ers, but other teams?
Could you imagine Hunter on that Niners defense?
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
it's crazy. And the Niners are a team that we've talked about as far as if Hunter were to get traded, it makes perfect sense. Takes that defense. But Danielle Hunter is fantastic. The dude is ripping it up again this year. He's having a blast in Brian Flores' defense. Last year, Ed Donatel had Danielle Hunter dropping back in coverage, doing just crazy things. And this year, they're just pointing to the quarterback and say, Hunter, go get him. So he's having a great year, and he's helping the Vikings case if they do actually want to move on and trade him, because there's a lot of teams that are going to want him. This is his last year with the Vikings. I was surprised that they actually got something done. Everybody was already writing off Hunter in this summer as far as they're going to trade him. He's not going to be here. And then all of a sudden they work it out and he comes back for another year. So at the trade deadline, Hunter's the guy. If the Vikings want to get any sort of compensation and have that garage sale, he is going to be the guy. It's going to be very interesting to see what that compensation actually is. I mean, it's basically you're getting a 1-year rental, right? I mean, unless he's going to a team and they fall in love with him and they work something out. So that's going to hurt. But Hunter is definitely on the table. October 31st, that's a trade deadline, right? I mean, we still got a couple weeks for that. Things would have to go real south. And when I say real south, lose to the Niners, lose to the Packers. That'll be the dagger right there. And then I say it's game on. And Vikings fans would be fine with it.
Yeah, so people are asking, can the 49ers afford him? What's the ramifications? It's about a 11.5 million in savings for the Vikings if they trade him for this year. And then they have about 9.5 million in dead cap. But because we're doing this after June 1st, that means they're basically taking on about 4.75 million in dead cap this year and next year. So it could work well for both teams. That's not a ton, especially if they are getting a decent draft pick in return. So there's certainly a path for this move to happen. There is. Now, the 49ers did just get Gregory. So, does that mean that they're out on a pass rusher? I don't know. But Danielle Hunter and Gregory are not in the same stratosphere. So let's be clear about that. Danielle Hunter is a bona fide top tier pass rusher, or second tier, I would say. The top tier guys are Bosa and some of those other guys, Watt, whatever. I think he's just below that. And then Gregory's a nice piece, but he's like tier 4 pass rusher. So we're talking about 2 different level players here. So if Danielle Hunter is available, I wouldn't be mad if the 49ers necessarily kicking the tires on that one. Keenan says, good morning and afternoon. Hyped for today's show. Well, good. You probably said that much earlier, and hopefully the hype is living up to the expectation there.
Well, one thing on Danielle Hunter quick is
right
now in this Vikings defense, he doesn't have a very great supporting cast. Imagine him like on the Niners with Bosa and those linebackers. I mean, the guys you have, it's like he doesn't even have to go there and get you a sack or 2 sacks a game. It would be crazy. I hate the thought of it. I mean, but again, it's such a perfect match for that Niners D.
Yeah, I want to say this. Think this, 49er fans. Rams getting Von Miller at the trade deadline. That's how big of an impact this would be. And we saw that impacted that team and helped them win a Super Bowl. I believe Hunter is that big of an impact for the 49ers. I mean, he is a very, very good player. Very good player. Let's talk Justin Jefferson.
War.
He what?
So we need a nice bidding war. We need the Niners to get into this. We need a couple more teams. Let's jack that price up, baby.
Well, I could see. Listen, there's There's some teams that I think certainly could jump in on that. In fact, I'm curious to know. He's not going to cost his new team a ton either. I would think every major contender should be in on Danielle Hunter if he becomes available. I could see teams, AFC teams, NFC teams. Eagles have a stack line. I could see them being in on it. Dallas. I mean, God, could you imagine? Uh, Buffalo, Kansas City. I mean, all of the teams should be in. The Ravens. Everybody should be in on Danielle Hunter.